What we found, we're going to show later videos about a young family that I just have listed their property for. He's actually a real estate attorney in Alaska, and his mother recently passed in her early 90s. And I asked him that question because she didn't have a trust. And he's a real estate attorney. And what he said was they didn't want to talk about it. She was uncomfortable talking about her death.
So, Don, how come Kaz never got a trust?
Well, probably because I didn't bring it up in time. It's something I need to take care of myself. I should have known better because my father passed away about 11 years ago. And when I finally got around to wanting to discuss it with my mother, she was already well over 80. It was just hard to get her to think about it. You've got other issues you want to work out with your elderly parent, like assisted living. It just kept sliding on and on. So I think the lesson for us, for our children, is this is on my to-do list, just basically so Joni won't have to go through all the paperwork if I go first.
And I found the same thing with my father. Talking about transition when you get to the end of life, it's not something you really want to think about, or most people don't want to think about. And so the planning part of it is really, really important because you want to save your kids the headache that comes from not having a valid, viable trust in place.
But what would have been different if Kaz had had a trust?
Well, the main difference here, I knew you, Tim, for a long time, so I had a resource to reach out to. I had to find a local attorneys. I had the broker and you were helping me marketing and getting the house fixed up. Working through an attorney in a different state took a little bit of time. Since I am an attorney, I was able to get referrals pretty easily, but I don't think that's always true for everybody. You know, the cost of the probate attorney will be more than the trust instrument.
There are professionals who work just strictly in wills and probates and trust business. First thing, and I can help you do this anywhere in Northern California, I have a team of probate attorneys and trust attorneys that can help you draw this up. Really, really, really important. You think seriously about how your property is going to pass. We all worked really hard. We did the American dream. We bought our house and we want to pass it on to our kids with the least possible pain. And if you don't have a trust, that's not going to happen. You see, the probate system, which happens when someone dies and they don't have a trust, even though they have a will, which most people have a will, it still complicates the process. First thing, get a good trust. Second thing that I found out, your kids probably don't want all your stuff. As a baby boomer, we were always taught by our parents to keep things, pass it down. You'll have all these great memories. But you know what? Our kids all have created their own lives. They have their own houses. They have their own stuff. They don't really have that emotional attachment.
You had the privilege of coming down here and kind of sorting through the house, and Kaz was like many of that generation who kept everything.
She kept everything, piles and piles of things. Before she passed away, she did let me go through a couple of little piles, throw out those old magazines and put them in recycling. But most of the things that were around, she wouldn't let me go through. Since she's passed, it's been more of an effort. I do wish that she had let me just go through some of it and get rid of things that she wasn't using.
To make sure that you don't have a lot of stuff, because when you pass, your kids are grieving. And the last thing they want to do is come to your house and figure out that they have to go through all your old stuff. It's a very emotional thing. Everything you touch, you want to keep, but then your kids don't want it. Step 2 probably is make sure that your house is in order. The third deal is I believe that if you want your kids to keep the property tax base that Proposition 13 allows in California, that you have to have some kind of a succession plan where one of your children, who would be one of the heirs, would be moving into that house within 1 year. And that's very important because the state of California, as soon as someone passes, the property tax will change if there's not an heir filing for an exemption.
Have you guys gone over the
19,
effects of Proposition 19 and the property tax? Has the property tax changed?
Fortunately, she's an original Prop 13 homeowner, and I think it was passed soon after they bought the house. Her property taxes were $856.
So you haven't felt the effect of Proposition 19 as a trustee of the property?
Right.
I have not. Hopefully we'll have this sold before.
Depends on the rescue realtor, right?
The rescue realtor. We're counting on the rescue realtor.
The house is in need of some updating. So tell me that process. What did you decide to do, and what's the return on investment that you expect?
That process has been, is we called our friend the rescue realtor, and he has helped us out tremendously. He has a whole crew of contractors and people that he can connect us with that can come in and do all the remodel and not get rid of all the stuff that we cannot get rid of. and he has been totally instrumental and a godsend to us.
And that's great because
Yes.
you live in Alaska.
That's great because we live in Alaska and we can't do most of it ourselves.
Couldn't do any of it myself.
None of it.
One thing's instrumental. There were repairs in the house. Let's just fix this now because, you can enjoy it then. And her response was always, no, I don't want strangers in my house. And I don't think that's that uncommon with elderly parents. So we knew the house definitely needed a facelift before it went on the market. We're looking to our broker to sort of give us a little guidance on what sort of money well spent and what's good for the market. Obviously, we have our obligations to turn over an intact, safe house. But a lot of it is just what needs to be done to freshen the house up.
But our realtor has had a lot of good ideas about things to do that will make it look a lot fresher and brighter so that we can sell it more quickly.
So this has been from the time your mom died till now. What's the time frame?
3 months, a little
3
over
months.
3.5 months, yeah.
And the process is you plan on putting your house on the market?
As soon
soon
as
as
the
possible.
remodeling gets done and we get the go that it's good to put on the market.
So one of the things about the fact that your mom didn't have a trust was, and it's in probate, there's a time frame, right?
Right.
What was that time frame from the time that you started the process, having to hire an attorney? What's that time frame?
That took a
difference?
minute.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to fortunately locate an attorney. And just as an aside, I'm an inactive licensed California attorney, but we were able to link up with someone within about 3 weeks. And so that was good. But then, we had to get the death certificate to him, get the original will, all of the paperwork so that he could file. Then he had to file in court. And then he had to get a court date. And the earliest court date he could get was March 9th. And, today it's February 1st. The house is probably going to be ready to go on the market sooner than we'll have the probate hearings. So if I'd had a trust, I wouldn't have had that sort of coordination in terms of timing.
And what if there had been other heirs involved? You're the only son, is that correct?
I'm the only heir. The only heir is under her will, and she had a will, which, that was good. And she actually took care of business well that way. So I'm the residual heir, and then I have 2 children. And, we're all mentioned in the wills.
But I know that if there had been other siblings, it could have been even more confusing and
Right.
taken more time because somebody could have contested the will.
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
correct?
One of the things she did that was very good is when she bought the house, got it in divorce, so she has a chain of title deeding it to her, but then she remarried. And in California, she had her new husband quitclaim his interest to her. And if he hadn't done that, I would have actually had to deal with
His children.
his side of the family, because he predeceased her, but he would have had an interest in, I think under community property law, he would have had interest in the house. So,
Wow.
so that was, that dodged a big bullet right there, just because, thank you, Mom, you took care of business back then. But
Yeah,
a,
that's amazing.
a trust would have made it simpler.
Because a trust would designate who would get the house, who would get the assets.
And who the trustee is and who has the power to do everything.
So at the end of the day, as a non-practicing California attorney and a semi-practicing Alaska attorney, what's your final thought on all of this process?
Well, my final thought is when I get back home to Alaska, I actually know a trust attorney that I've been meaning to set an appointment with, and we just need to get our affairs in together because it's fair to our children. Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, and we're gonna put this house on the market at 2601 Camrose in Fairfield, California, and it'll be coming soon to the market. Thanks, Don and Joni.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.